Yeah.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's my pleasure to call to order the October 15th, 2020 meeting of the CRPD Board of Directors. And we're fortunate tonight to have the flag salute led by Mike Byrne. Mike, if you'd please come forward and lead us in the pledge.
Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please. Aline?
Director Lang.
Present.
Director Nichols.
Yes.
Director Holt. Here. Director Huffer.
Yes.
Director Cussler. Here.
We have a quorum. We're moving on to item 3, special presentations. We're going to have a couple presentations from Zoom, and I'm assuming the Concerned Off-Road Bicycle Association, Corba, will lead us off. Is that correct?
That is my understanding, and I'm glad to be here.
And your name, please?
My name's Steve Messer. I'm the president of the Concerned Off-Road Bicyclists Association, and also on Zoom with me is Jeremy Combs, who is the chair of Corba's Sapwe Bike Park Committee.
Great. And I'm going to start with sharing some greetings from Jim Hassenauer. Do you know Jim Hassenauer?
Very well. I co-authored a book with him.
Okay, well, he told me to pass along his greetings to you and all your Corba cohorts. So thank you, and ready begin.
All right, well, I'm going to share my screen if that's okay.
Do whatever.
There we go. Now, I believe you should be seeing my screen. Anyway, thank you for the opportunity to show off the work that we're so proud of. And really thanks to the CRPD board and staff who have made this such a productive partnership. The bike park has been a huge success beyond our expectations. And this is pretty typical of the comments that we see. Totally cool and fun place for all types of riders. Get out and have fun in the dirt. And that's a 5-star review on Google, and very typical of the reviews we get. But let's go back and see where we started. It's hard to believe that it's taken just over 9 years to get here. In 2011, Corba published an editorial on our blog and newsletter, Thousand Oaks Needs a Bike Park. And there had been some illegal dirt jump construction on CRPD and other lands, and that to us showed up that there was a pent-up demand for this type of facility. So we wanted to provide a place for that to happen. So in 2012, the CRPD held the first public meeting for a revised plan for Lang Ranch Community Park, and we had over 100 cyclists turn up and advocate for a bike park. In October 2016, we continued working with CRPD until the master plan was approved. And in March 2017, we formed our Sapwe Bike Park Committee, which Jeremy is now chair of. We signed our first agreement with CRPD in June 2017, and we're able to open phase 1 of the bike park with just a pump track in September 2018. We continued fundraising and planning, and in November 2019, we were able to open phase 2, which included the beginner, the intermediate, and the advanced jump lines. And then just recently in August 2020, we opened phase 3, which was an expert jump line and some other overall park improvements that made it a more rounded out place for all levels of riders. And this is all due to the committee. So we have an all volunteer committee that was formed in March 2016, and we've held monthly meetings since then. The chair of the committee was Peter Sullivan for the first 4.5 years, and he just stepped down just last month, and we welcome Jeremy to be now taking the chairmanship of the committee. And these are estimates, but the committee members have accrued over 4,000 hours of volunteer time between meetings, planning, and actual digging and maintaining and building the park. It's been quite a feat of volunteerism. But Jeremy's is an expert rider. He's been crucial to the overall success of the park, and he's been involved at every level of the park's development. Recently he took the chairmanship of the committee, and we're glad to have him. And yeah, that's me on the right, pushing 60 years old, but bikes in places like Sapri Bike Park really bring out my inner child. But my biggest accomplishment was bringing together such a great team of dedicated volunteers on the committee. So we have Peter Sullivan, who chaired the committee, as I mentioned, Matt Cole, Dorothy Sullivan, Kent Corral, John Munhall, Eric Brill, Charles Wintorf, and Eric Winkler. So right now we have 10 of us on the committee. But it's taken more than just the committee's work. The committee has been involved in fundraising. So to date, we've raised $263,000. That started out with a commitment from Corbett of $500 just to get the committee off the ground. And we have received $46,000 in sponsorships, $99,000 in grants, and we can't thank CRPD enough for the matching grants that we have applied for and been successful at getting from CRPD. They've made a huge difference. And then we had a lot of in-kind donations, materials, professional labor, and equipment rental to the value of $94,000. Of that $263,000, we've spent $261,000. So we still have a little bit, and we're fundraising to continue maintaining and upgrading the park. But in Corbus financials, right now we're sitting on $36,000, and of that, $11,000 is unobligated. So we're in a good position, and we still have our membership funds coming in and other funds. So we're quite happy. And we did this with a lot of community support. Some of the biggest names in the bicycling industry, SRAM, Giant, and REI, have been phenomenal. Weber Enterprises, they were able to donate much of the dirt that we needed to create the park. And all of these families, it's been really a wonderful showing of support from the community and from the industry. So what are we up to right now? So the current activities include our dirt church. Every Sunday morning from 8 a.m. to noon, we have a 4-hour volunteer maintenance session, and we have usually 3 or 4 committee members and a handful of just public volunteers coming out and helping keep the bike park in great shape. And one of the reasons it is so successful is that maintenance is a priority for us, and we've been staying on top of it throughout the existence of the park. The average visitation on weekdays is anywhere from 30 to 60 kids, families, and adults. And on weekends, we can see anywhere from 40 to 120 each day over the weekend. Not all at once, but spread out through the day. And then we've also built up a big social media following, over 4,000 people on social media. It really speaks, to my mind, to those 100 people who showed up to that first meeting and how dedicated they have been and how supportive they have been throughout. But there's no doubt that we do have some issues, and one of those is compliance and enforcement of closures. With a dirt bike park, we need to close the park whenever there's inclement weather or more than a ½ inch of rain or so, because that softens the dirt and does damage. So we have volunteers out there putting tarps over the berms and features to protect them. And we've come back and seen the tarps removed and tire tracks and things like that. And it's volunteers going back in and fix the damage. But that's one of the challenges. We've also had theft and vandalism of the equipment we've used to close the park. Again, there's a big demand for the park, and a lot of people want to use it, even if we're closed. There's been a couple of incidents of motorcycle. We've had radio-controlled cars and scooters, but they're minor problems relative to the number of people who do enjoy the park. But with that number comes trash, and sometimes we've got to clean up after a heavy weekend of use. And then volunteer turnover and recruitment. Our board, all 10 members of the committee have served since we were formed in 2016. So we've lost a few members on the committee, and we're looking to increase our volunteerism and recruit more members to our committee. But in the next steps, we anticipate continuing with the ongoing weekly maintenance sessions on Sunday mornings. We're also putting in steps to reduce the maintenance needs. Those include soil tap, which is a soil stabilizer that stabilizes the soil and makes it need less maintenance, and it hardens the surface so that it's more durable for riders to use on. We're looking to put in an additional kiosk and signage, and I understand they're currently on order. We're also looking at formalizing a bike park ambassador or a volunteer program. We're still in discussions about what that's going to look like, and expanding the bike park committee. We're at 10 people, but next year, a couple of those will be up on their 2-year terms, and I haven't heard anyone saying they want to get off the committee, but we'd still like to bring new blood into it. And finally, we want to fundraise to pay for professional maintenance, because I believe that we don't want to burn out our volunteers, and we want to have that professional maintenance aspect. So this is what the park looks like from above, and it is to us a work of art, and to the community a true community building asset. So I'll let Jeremy speak about the community that we've built. You know, it's impressive to see the number and diversity of people out there, from kids to families, mothers, daughters, fathers, sons, and everything in between. It's been wonderful. So Jeremy, what can you say about that?
Yeah, first of all, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for allowing us to do this. It's really a dream come true for me. I've been riding bikes and dirt jumping and building dirt jumps, since I was a little kid. And so for this to come to fruition, it's just really cool. And it's amazing to see, on a Saturday afternoon, you go out there and there might be 100 people, and it's all types of people. It's families, it's little kids, it's pro riders, it's people that I know that I've been riding with for a long time. The teenagers, it's such a good option, for them, an activity, a really healthy and fun activity for them to do. So again, I just want to say thank you, for allowing us to do it. And the community has been really strong. I mean, the community support that we've seen has been amazing. The fundraising, it was a challenge in the beginning, but once they saw, what we were doing and what we wanted to do, the fundraising definitely picked up. So the community support has been amazing, and hopefully we can continue to foster that and continue to work with CRPD, on what they want the park to be. I mean, in our mind, it's like we want to make the best bike park in the world, but that might not fit in with a local community park in CRPD, and we totally understand that. So we want to work with you guys on what you want it to be, as well as hopefully potentially expand it, or at least make it better, and add different options for different type of riders, because it is very heavily, I would say, dirt jump focused now, which is something that was needed in the area. But a lot of cyclists in the area aren't dirt jumpers. So we built the park in a way that allows them to progress their skill level and potentially get there. But at the same time, I think we do need to add some features that would appeal to riders where dirt jumping maybe isn't their main focus.
Thanks, Jeremy. So this is pretty typical of the comments we get. And these are reviews that appeared on social media and on Google. The dirt bike park is awesome. Lots of fun to ride or just watch. Everyone is very friendly, safe, and considerate. And we took our 4-year-old twins for their first time at the park. It was a very fun time. So nice and welcoming atmosphere. And I can't thank you enough, everyone that's funded this place. So many new friendships and experiences. It's been such a rad opportunity to be here so frequently. And that speaks to the community building aspect that we've seen around the park. And then totally cool and fun place for riders of all types of levels. So those are the types of comments that we've received, and you can see them on Google and reviews and on social media. So we're really proud of what's happened so far. So with that, I want to say thank you for letting us present, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Well, thank you for the presentation, and thank you for being good stewards of the property under your operation there. Board members, have any questions? Director Huffer.
Not a question so much as comments. Stephen, Jeremy, your organization, you folks, your committee, and all the volunteers are poster children, I think, for what represents a partnership between CRPD and community organizations such as yours. What you folks have accomplished in just a few years, I believe you said a total of 6,000 volunteer hours between your committee and non-committee people. The funds that you've raised and spent on the facilities there is just absolutely amazing. You folks started the planning process almost 10 years ago and came to us and said, we'd like to see this, but you went so far beyond just telling us what you wanted to see, and you actually accomplished getting much of what you wanted a reality. So thank you guys, thank your committee and all your volunteers for everything that you've done for the bicycling community.
It's been our pleasure and our privilege, truly.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Director Huffer. Yes, Director Cusworth.
I was completely awed by your presentation, and, you know, to echo what Director Huffer said, your fundraiser and your volunteers and the commitment of the people that you have in your organization. It's really very, very impressive. And to be able to just take, like, I guess, a corner of dirt of the park and make it into an incredibly popular attraction. Kudos to you. I have a question though, and it may not be something that you have the answer to. Do you know a percentage of the people that use the bike park are Conejo Valley residents?
Jeremy probably has a better sense of that than I do, since he spends more time there.
So I guess I'm a little unclear on the definition of Conejo Valley, but I would say Ventura County residents. I would bet that it's 75% at least of Ventura County residents. Conejo Valley, I'm not really sure on that.
One thing to note is that the city of Santa Clarita just opened a bike park 2 weeks ago, and I know there were a number of people coming from Santa Clarita trying to get their skills up and practice getting ready for the forthcoming Santa Clarita bike park. And now with that open, there's going to be less people traveling from that area. But we've also got another one under construction in Ventura. I'm working on one with LA County down in the Whittier area. And there's other projects around Southern California as well. I think 3 or 4 bike parks have opened in Southern California since we began this project.
So it sounds like you've been an inspiration to other communities. They've seen
Yes.
for that. So congratulations.
Yeah, we do have other bike park advocates coming to us for advice now, just as we were going to other bike parks in the beginning to asking for their advice. So it's wonderful to be able to pay that back.
Got mine, it's dirty.
Thank you very much.
They won't see it. Hang on.
You have more comments from Zoom participants? Okay.
Awesome job, beautifully. Love it.
Great. Yes,
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Director Nichols.
Steve and Jeremy, thank you for the presentation. Thoroughly enjoyed the photos and hearing some of the responses and the comments. The one thing that I was most impressed with is that you've only got $2,000 left. I love the fact when an organization like yours, volunteer-based, asks for money and that they actually spend it on what they intended to. You know, it's unfortunate when we see organizations that have great ideas, all full well-intentioned to get things done. They get the money and it just sits there because it just didn't quite come together. But I'm thrilled to see that you actually spend the money. So thank you for doing that. It's encouraging. I do have a question. Jeremy kind of touched on this a little bit, but I know when Corba in its infancy started, it was basically just a bunch of mountain bike folks riding on trails, and then started to help with trail maintenance and
patrolling and, kind of matured a little bit in some of those areas. But this is obviously not that. So I guess, whether it's Steve or Jeremy or both, has the clientele changed, or do you see different opportunities? Because it's not really a BMX course, but are there different styles of off-road bicycle use that you're trying to address? And if so, how many different styles are there out there?
There are many, many different styles. The bike park, we see kids on strider bikes, which have no pedals, just to learn to ride, all the way up to BMX bikes, dirt jump bikes, to mountain bikes. So we see the full range of bikes, and there's something there for everyone. But the jump lines are, the way they're designed, are definitely better for the dirt jump specific and the BMX specific. So we have, I know in the master plan, there are a number of skill stations that we have yet to tackle. And we'll be looking at doing some of those going forward. And those will be accommodating mountain bikers specifically over the other users. But within the mountain biking, or I should call it the off-road cycling community in reality, because it's more than just mountain biking. There's a broad range and a broad spectrum, and there's a lot of crossover. So, I ride in bike parks, I ride trails, and a lot of people, they don't just do one style. They like to mix it up and do multiple different activities that fall under the auspice of off-road cycling.
And a follow-up to that is, do you have competitions out there, or do you foresee this type of facility accommodating competitions of some sort?
Competitions are a possibility. We've discussed doing something like what they call a jump jam, where people get scored on their jumps as a fundraiser. That's a possibility. We haven't had any such activities yet, although we do have Peter Sullivan, who's our previous chair. He's out at the park right now doing a fundraiser with a clothing company who is doing a photo shoot. So it's also gained that level of attention as well. And with that photo shoot, we're getting a donation from the company that'll be put towards future expansions and additions.
Well, thank you. And I know you guys are quite busy in many other areas as well. So thank you for the presentation, and we'll look forward to continuing to work with you.
And we look forward to working with you and continuing this wonderful relationship. It's been an honor and a privilege, as I said. Thank you.
I agree. Thank you.
Director Holt, do you have any comments or questions? And I'd like to conclude with the fact that it's people like you that invest their personal time and effort and so forth that make things happen, and keep up the good work. And I know that many people will benefit from your efforts. And we'll thank you now for the future users for what you're doing now and laying the groundwork for years to come. Again, thank you.
It's my dream to see kids who are there on strider bikes in 25 years, bringing their kids out there on their strider bikes.
Very good. All right.
Thank you so much.
Have a good rest of the evening. We're moving on to our second presentation, the Conejo Disc Golf Club. And who's going to be presenting that? There he is.
Good evening, ladies, gentlemen, friends, chairman, board members. Let me just say while we're waiting for this to load that I can't believe I've got to follow that presentation. $250,000 raised and that many volunteers weekly. Wow. I do promise one thing, and that mine will be quite a bit shorter, and hopefully I'll be able to entertain you all for a few minutes and let you know what the Disc Golf Club out here in the Conejo has been doing in these crazy times that we're going through. Okay, look at the beautiful picture. Rabbit Flats Disc Golf Course, our first disc golf course in the Conejo. Its 10-year anniversary was this May. We had big plans for our 10-year anniversary tournament. There was other ideas that the pandemic had in store for that. But in big picture,
kind of small potatoes to not get to run our tournament. And let's see, oh, there we go, celebrating 10 years. But not really 10 years, because disc golf in the Conejo started 50 years ago. Actually, the very first known disc golf tournament in history, and this is even on the Professional Disc Golf website, Professional Disc Golf Association's website, very first tournament was here 50 years ago. You see that photo from 1971, not quite 50 years ago, but one of the tournaments that continued on. And then to the right, we have a former CRPD recreation supervisor, George Sappenfield. I don't think any of you were around with the department in 1969 or so, but maybe someone may have played in one of these tournaments. This was at the grand opening, and I know that several of you attended that. It's been so long ago. This is one of my favorite photos. The soldier on our right was one of the great volunteers at Rabbit Flats. He was a CB, and I'm glad to say that 10 years later, we've got another group of CBs that are doing work at our new course out at Sapwe. This was after they were sent off to one of their Afghanistan deployments. The club sent them a care package of discs, and being CBs, they did what they could with spare parts and built themselves a Frisbee golf basket. It was very interesting. I can't imagine those circumstances, but God bless them for their work. But having to be out there in 100+ degrees and all that gear and trying to play Frisbee golf while carrying their rifles. So here we have some of our discs we've had over the years, our Sapwe commemorative disc and our Rabbit Flats discs. Another beautiful day of disc golf. And in these times, as you know, and I hope that you and your families have been well and safe in this pandemic, but things evolved and continue to evolve because of the pandemic, but disc golf has been such an amazing release for so many people. And it's actually seen a lot of growth as people sit at home and wonder, what can I do? Where can I go? I want to get outside and enjoy the outdoors, get some exercise. And the disc golf has been a great outlet for many new players, and for folks like me, been playing for 36 years, great to get out when my shoulders and elbows allow. Well, you can probably recognize a couple of faces in the photo to the right. I probably should apologize to Susan Holt for that air, or getting too much air on my scoop of dirt. I think I didn't realize how windy it was, and I think blew right back at a few of us. In that case, Susan threw that high load of dirt. It wasn't, in fact, me. And over on the left, we have hole 1, and this is one of the many, I believe we're over 20 Boy Scout projects that the CRPD has led on Eagle Scout projects for Boy Scouts. That rock art that's being built right there is a beautiful addition. It's a great way to start off the course. It plays as an out-of-bounds area, which is a great technical feature to the hole. You can see the basket and the people putting in the distance. You have to throw from the tee over the rock art and hopefully not land in it, or you suffer the consequence of a penalty stroke. This is our becoming infamous par 5 hole. So at Rabbit Flats, it's a shorter, user-friendly course, not user-friendly, more beginner-friendly course. And we've got special baskets set up for families, with youngsters especially, and for beginners. Sapwe is a different level. There's lots of birdie opportunities, but there's lots of challenge too. This is one of the huge challenges, being over, well, close to 900 feet. Hole 13 appropriate. I think I've had one birdie in about 30 or 40 attempts. And I actually had an eagle look one time, just from probably blind luck more than anything. But usually I'm struggling to make a par on that very challenging hole. But just look at the great
beauty of the area out there at Sapwe. I know you're all familiar with it. And I should take this moment to say the Parks and Rec and the staff out there, Greg in particular, they do an amazing job of making the course really nice, coordinating the Eagle. Hopefully we'll have Eagle Scout projects going on again someday after this pandemic. But continuing to do work out there to improve the course, and then wrangling up us volunteers to do some of the work out there as well. And there's a whole one at Sapwe. And we can see here we had one of our volunteers going out and deciding it's time to come out and pick up some of the cigarette butts. Believe it or not, there are some people that didn't even realize that cigarette butts, throwing them out, were littering. Disc golfers are just, it's got everyone. It's a mixed group, and there's a lot of variety of people out there, and there's people out at both courses that aren't necessarily disc golfers either, that are enjoying lounging on the nice benches and unfortunately smoking. And thankfully now there's no smoking in the parks, because ever since I was a little kid, I have not been a fan of smoking. So I'm happy about this. But in our Facebook page, you can see that we had comments about that, and there's other comments that actually enlightened some people that cigarette butts aren't biodegradable. They didn't realize that was the case. And of course, the pandemic brought lots of changes, and we've moved forward, thankfully, and I'm hoping that Ventura County continues in our great trajectory and goes to the orange color in the not too distant future. So the parks are open, as you all know, and players are going out there, and we're being as much as any big segment of the population can be socially responsible with our social distancing, having our masks. But one of the great things about disc golf is that you're playing separate holes with your family, and you can keep that distancing. You're not right on top of other people, even much less so than in hiking in popular trails. We have one of our volunteers over on the right doing some course maintenance, knocking down the weeds. And on the left, we have this is a hole at Sapwe where we've had the addition of rocks to form an island, an added challenge, landing your disc in that circle, otherwise getting, again, a penalty stroke. And that's me. I realized that needed to be put in there because I've got my mask on, and many of you may not have realized exactly who is up here speaking. So that's me, and that was our first round of a tournament sanctioned event at Sapwe. And hopefully next year we will have tournament sanctioned events again. And there's the appropriate picture for the end of my presentation. Is probably just missing sunset out there, but I don't have anything else. But if you all have a question, I'd be glad to answer.
Thank you very much, Mike. And Director Holt.
Hi there. Nice seeing you as well.
Oh, here's microphone. It used to be, before Sapwe, at the Thousand Oaks Center, you could go in and they would lease you or whatever, let you have a couple of discs to go and play. Is that still true at Thousand Oaks Center, or is it?
Because of the pandemic, I don't know if that's the case right now.
So,
I think that you probably know better than me, or some of you, that the center is generally closed, although people are in there. And like for us disc golfers, lost discs are still turned in, and they pick them up out of a collection box, and then we can call and make an appointment. They'll look for them, and then we can go in there and make arrangements to pick them up.
Okay.
Rochelle, do you have any comments on that?
I believe you're correct that the facility is closed, so they're not checking out or selling the disc currently.
Well, he's got a slew of them, let me tell you. Just call him and say, I want to borrow a few.
I think Susan is
How many do you
volunteering to
have?
decrease my collection. I would say that all types of Frisbees, I may be down. I've whittled it down quite a bit. I think I've gotten rid of about 50%. I'm down to about 1,100. So golf discs, I'm probably down to probably 400.
I
Some
have
of
his
these-
phone number if anybody wants to borrow one.
A lot of these I've had since even the 80s. And so they may not hold up too well to hitting a tree or rocks, but I've had this collection for
That's
forever.
amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
and a lot of those aren't state of the art like this guy now. You got great distance out there, of course. But by all means, I am always available not only to have discs to loan to you, but to go meet with you out there and play a little bit of disc golf too.
Well, thank you for the presentation.
My pleasure.
Good to see you.
Nice seeing everybody.
Thank you, Director Holt. Director Nichols.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for the presentation. I remember seeing some of the presentations last time you were here. It's always good to kind of refresh that, but also hear what's happening. With the two different facilities that we say you operate or participate in, with the Rabbit Flats being more of an introductory beginner, of course, affiliated with one of our community centers where people can go and participate in that, as opposed to Sapwe, which is probably a little bit more challenging, longer. Do you find that there seems to be a group of people that kind of hang around one or the other because they like that? Or do you see a lot of crossover between the two where they just say, hey, let's go try this one this week, back and forth?
Great question. It's actually quite a bit of crossover, and I think that people will start off at Rabbit Flats. It's got built-in features, having baskets particularly for beginners and youngsters. And Rabbit Flats is definitely a step up. It's gotten quite a bit less frustrating, maybe is the right word, because of the continued work of mainly the Parks and Rec, but also some volunteers, and kind of getting the rough under control. It used to be if you stick on the fairways, you just move along at a really quick clip. As soon as you get off the fairway, though, it was the case where you'd spend 20 minutes perhaps looking for a disc. I usually limit it myself at 10 minutes because I've still got so many more.
And with this being a club organization, how many members do you have in your club, and why would I want to join a club as far as participating in what you have to offer, as opposed to just showing up to one of the facilities and just having at it?
Yeah, I think it's one of the great questions in our communities in general. Why do we get, even for being a club member, why are in general 5% doing 90% of the work? And our club is fairly loose. We don't have dues. It's open to everyone. Our club Facebook page is over 400 people. I will say that there's some that maybe join maybe because they're visiting the area and they're interested in seeing or finding a map, etc. But a lot of people want to get involved and give back to the community, to the sport. And that's what I've been doing all these years. I've loved the sport since I first fell into it. And part of what I really enjoy now is giving back. So my kids go out there and they get to play, and other people get to enjoy it and bring their kids out, etc. And it gives people an outlet and a reason, a way to be outdoors as well. Lost my train of thought. I'm sorry.
Okay, I got one more question for you.
Yes.
You know, as I kind of quiz the mountain bike people as to what their different styles of sport are.
Mhm.
And I know with disc golf, I've heard of ultimate frisbee, and you have different things. Do you find that disc golfers only do disc golf, or that they also maybe like to do other types of frisbee or disc sports?
There's some crossover, but I think a lot of disc golf, I think they initially get into it just because they enjoy playing frisbee, so to speak, getting out there and throwing and playing catch. Disc golf does not lend itself very well to the catching part, but throwing very, very much so. And there's a lot. I actually, when I got into the sport, I just enjoyed playing frisbee, but I competed in different events. distance, discathon. I never did ultimate. That was more of a team, and now there would have to be an ultimate league where you just could do brisk walking. Maybe I could do that. But in this area, I would say primarily it's disc golf, but then there's still crossover into some of the other sports. Ultimate players often come from colleges and different groups, and often get drawn to, especially over time when running and the knees start hurting, but really get drawn to disc golf. And I've seen that ever since the late 80s, in fact.
Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Director Nichols. Director Cusworth.
I'm a disc golf player.
Yay!
So we started, a friend invited me right after the pandemic.
Oh,
So
okay.
that we would go out and do something. We had a good time and our husbands came. And so we go every week. We go to Rabbit Flats.
Mhm.
And then our son visits and he plays. And then our daughter was here from Spokane. She went back to Spokane. She got disc. She and her husband play. We went to Sacramento, and our daughter there with her two boys, they came out and played with us. Now they have discs and they're playing.
Oh, boy.
So my son did play ultimate in high school and college, and so he's pretty good. But I'm impressed that there's crossover from Rabbit Flats and Sapwe. We went there to Sapwe
Mhm.
and thought, okay, give me a break. I mean, there's no way. Of course, I am a bad disc golf player. Everybody is progressing better than I am. I am terribly bad. I need to take lessons. I don't know if there's disc golf lessons,
Well,
but maybe
we'll connect and make
maybe
that
I
happen.
can get with you and find a disc golf teacher. So I'm surprised that there's people at Sapwe. Mr. Hare assured me that people are using the Sapwe course. I was at one time wondering if we could have like different starting points for different baskets, but maybe that would, like here's the easy course and way up there and over all of the sagebrush and over the creek, around the bend to where you can't see the basket. That's the hard course. But I watched a video and yeah, they were sailing them over there. I mean, it's really very impressive. So I'm glad you brought up the cigarettes, because I have noticed that many disc golfers are very particular and love their cigarettes. And so we do now have the rule, though, that you can't smoke in the parks, but I haven't had the heart to go and mention that to anybody, because they all seem to be having a good time. Especially at that one place, that's kind of at the top of the hill and has those 4 benches.
Yes,
That's kind of the hangout there.
that's the
so-
meeting area.
Yeah, but I have seen people with strollers over there at Rabbit Flats, and found the nights we can't go because there's tournaments going on, and really have enjoyed being a part of the disc golf community. Even though a middle-aged woman isn't your typical disc golfer, we're having a lot of fun. So thank you very much for bringing this to our community. I think we should have more disc golf courses here.
I love hearing that.
It's a great sport.
It's a very diverse group, and in these times, definitely not getting into politics, but things are just so divisive, and disc golf is just one of those outlets where we can get together and be ourselves and accept each other, and actually building bridges in the community, which is just a little perk to the sport.
Well, I found that everybody there has been so nice, going into the creeks, helping us to find our disc, going through the bushes, giving me tips on how to throw and stand. It's been very lovely. It's a great addition. I say a great addition. Oh, and my husband, he takes his Boy Scouts out now.
Oh, great.
They've become big disc golfers. So, but we don't have as many discs as you do. I think we have 10 between the two of us. So
That is a good start, though.
That's a good start.
I don't know. It doesn't seem to matter which disc I throw. They're all about the same. But anyway, thank you. Thank you for all your efforts.
My pleasure. And we'll have to do and connect, and I can help you probably find something that's a little easier to control for your disc.
Okay, thank you, Director Cusworth. Director Huffer.
I just want to add my thanks for the presentation this evening, and thanks for the work that you and your organization are doing to create and maintain the disc golf courses that we have. Unlike Director Cusworth, I am not a disc golfer. I tried Rabbit Flats once and was totally embarrassed. I wouldn't even dream of trying disc golfing over at Sapwe, although family member gave me a nice package of 3 or 4 discs. So I looked very professional, but I couldn't try it. So if you do happen to offer lessons to Director Cusworth, count me in. I'd like to learn at least some of the basics, but yeah. But anyway, thank you very much for what you and your group do for our community.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Mike. And as we know, Mike's been involved from day one, making all this happen. I have a question, and I believe, I don't want to confuse presentations, but what is the primary maintenance issue that the disc golf over at top we have to deal with?
The primary maintenance?
Maintenance, yeah, and your volunteers and stuff.
Yeah, but we do basically pulling weeds, and one of the projects we've been helping out with is the I like to call the rock project. So we've got a lot of large rocks which have been pushed around with bulldozers, and we've got smaller rocks where our volunteers are placing them and forming some of these different hazard areas, and then also marking out of bounds areas, not just to increase the challenge, but also the safety on the course. As you know, a lot of people enjoy just walking through the park. And so with the rocks, we're forcing players to stay away from paths, for example. So we're moving rocks and pulling weeds. and also it's amazing how much time can be spent in returning lost discs. So a lot of people put their name and phone number on the disc, and there's a place in our disc golf shed, a slot where lost discs can be put. But then we've got to get that effort to contact those people, maybe send them a photo of it, and then make arrangements to get that to them as well.
Very good. And you indicated, I believe, you have about 400 on the web page.
It's over 400. It's probably close to 500 now on our club Facebook page. And members, like I said, we don't have a fee for being a part of the club. It's really just it's a looser organization where we want to get everyone involved to whatever degree they're comfortable with. And so we've got a good core of a lot of people. Many have been playing for many years, and other people I haven't even met. In fact, just this evening I got a Facebook message from someone volunteering to do T signs at the course at Sapwe. We're waiting to get nice T signs done in there. We've got the most simple ones available, but someone is new to the sport. He's good with computer graphics, and he sent me an example. It's amazing work, and so just out of the blue contacted me and wants to do that as a contribution.
That's great.
I asked him, well, how much is this going to charge, or how much is this going to cost? He goes, "Here, do it for free." So that's a great price.
And one last question, and you personally, I don't know if anybody else, the individual Chuck Mork,
Yes.
that initiated with you the first organization. Is he still involved with disc golf?
He has not been too involved. He's had some health issues, and
Right.
you know, bless him, he seems to be doing really well and getting over that. But yeah, we still keep in touch, and he lives probably only a block away. And that was quite the memorable phone call when he called me out of the blue one day. He called a disc manufacturer who knew I was out in this area, and he sent him to me and said, "What can we do to start getting disc golf in the Conejo?" Because he and his sons loved it so much. And not too long after that, I met Jim at a community meeting. We're just talking about what was needed in the Conejo, and disc golf was rightfully viewed, in my opinion, of course, as something that was a great fit for the area and great for everyone. We talked about something for young adults to do, for adults, for kids, for families, it doesn't matter. In fact, you know, I met someone 20 years ago, and I've played disc golf a little bit with him over the years. But 20 years ago, he was 80 years old. He still plays every day. He is
as far as I know, the oldest disc golfer in the world. And I can't really honestly imagine playing at 100 years old, but he just turned 100 this week and he plays every day still.
Wonderful.
Doesn't matter what the age. My kids were playing as toddlers and
Wonderful. Again, thank you, Mike, and thank your organization for their volunteerism and making the Caneo Recreation and Park District proud of having the Sopwith Trails disc golf course.
thank you very much.
All right. Now we're going on to the third presentation, Thousand Oaks Soaring Society. And who do we have on Zoom for that?
Hi, everybody. My name is Andy McKittrick, and I put together this presentation, and we're going to see if we can get that off the ground here for you.
Andy, can you spell your last name, please?
Yes, it's McKittrick. And I want to introduce, I put this together, so I got the thing up in the computer for Dave, our president. I'll introduce to you now Dave Swain.
Hi, Dave.
Hello there, guys. The board, everybody there online, taking a look at what we got going on at Thousand Oaks Soaring Society. Sopwith Park opening day 2017, and that's when it really kind of took off for us. We're growing slowly but surely. This discipline of flying radio control gliders isn't as easy as people make it out to be. So it's a real close-knit community, and we're doing pretty good at it. Bertram Field, that plaque means a lot to us. Bill Bertram was a longtime member, and he passed away a few years ago, and this field has been dedicated to him. The glider you see in the pictures actually belongs to him, and this time it's being used as a training plane for a very young new member. We got some pictures of community interest, participation, putting together gliders for the community during the grand opening. Have just a good old time out there, and that's the most important thing, is fellowship, fun, and flying. More of the community interest. It's with the COVID, everything kind of slowed down for the past 6 months, basically. But we're starting to get more and more people out, taking a look, and we've slowly but surely grown our membership. Improvements on the field. We had a shed. We've got a second shed, thank you to the CRPD. We've put up solar panels, charging our batteries, and it's really made a big difference. A lot of our members are in their 70s, which is really amazing to myself. But I've known these men for 40 years. It's really helped out. And I like to put a kudos out to Greg and Cameron. They've done a lot of good stuff for us out there, and they're always there for our needs. Again, gathering of eagles, different planes we're flying. Bertram Field is a very different place. I've flown all over Southern California. Our club itself has flown at several different fields. And this is by far the best and best equipped now, thank you to CRPD, of any place in Southern California. And it's kind of being a destination for people from all over the place. Come out and try us out on a Sunday morning. And we had a few people have joined us from outside the county over in Santa Clarita and places like that. It's been very good. But our goal now is to get into the schools, some kind of STEM program, to get more and more people involved at the very beginning of this stuff. Our newest member, a kid named Bixby, and there's the plane that Bill Bertram flew and built at one time. And this young man and his grandfather, which makes a great team because he can go home each day after flying. They have something to work on or talk about and learn from one another. Contests. We've had a couple different contests. This one here, particular one, is hand launch contest. They don't use any kind of device to launch other than brute strength and technique. And this was a real good turnout in January, which was a perfect time of year to have it. We've had to fly between the rainstorms, but it was a great time a few years back, and we hope to do that again shortly. unlimited gliders. We fly all different kinds of gliders, from woodies, made all of wood, handmade, to factory built planes from all over the world. But it's a diverse group. We got engineers, we got correctional guards, we got guys who drove bulldozers, and it's just friendship and fellowship. That's the biggest thing of this. And Sunday mornings, getting busy out in that parking lot, and it's a good thing to see. More and more people are coming by, checking us out, and interest is there. Something we want to look for the next season is shade. It gets awfully hot up there, and we'd like to have something more permanent and something we can work with you guys as far as the grant program next year, and something will be cohesive to what the design of the field. Be a nice one there, maybe a little bit too big. But that's something we're looking at. And a big thank you. That's all we got for you. It was a big thank you. We were so glad and so blessed that we were able to make this connection a few years ago. And thank you to Bill Bertram, Matt Kuba, and different individuals, Tom Hare, and different other people there. Everybody's been great. And it just, I wish I would have put on a better program like the bike guys, but the beauty of the bike guys, we got to watch that grow from up top there on the upper terrace, and it's been really, really nice. But anyway, thank you for having us, and any questions?
Thank you for the presentations. Do we have any questions on our Thousand Oaks Soaring Society group? Director Cusworth.
Yes, sir.
So are you the same people that used to fly your planes at Redwood Middle School?
Yes, we are. We flew there for quite a few years, and we kind of got chased out of there, but they started charging more for the field. And we're at our wits' end where we're going to go fly next, and we came along, and we took advantage of it.
I just wanted to say, I used to, on Sunday mornings, I would walk over to Tarantula Hill and I would see you out there. One time, my grandson with me, and he likes planes, and you took a lot of time, somebody showing him how you launch the planes and how they glide up, and it was really great experience for him. He's still into planes. He was only about 5 then, and I think he's about 11 now. And still loves planes. And I thought, I don't know if you've thought of these. I'm a school teacher, but most schools are looking for assemblies, especially if they're free, or field trips, especially if they're free, and scout troops. Those are all things that you could look into, or you could even charge if you wanted to make some money for your.
You know what? Making money is not what we're up about, but we would love to have you come out with your son at 11 years old, because that's the perfect age to get involved in this. And of course, stuff we can do for the classroom, we're more than willing to do that. We just need to get our foot in the door on a lot of this stuff and work at it. It'd be a real good thing.
Well, thank you very much. I know that I'm very small on the screen for saying an 11-year-old was my son, but that's my grandson.
No, you're the perfect combination there. We'd love to have you out in the field any Sunday morning. Come on out, and we can help you out.
So anyway, thank you for your service, and I hope that you can get together with some younger people and kind of, build that love. Even making paper airplanes and things is a huge draw for young people. They like flight, it's a cool thing. So thank you very much.
You're quite welcome, quite welcome.
Okay. Director Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Dave, thank you for kind of enlightening us on some of the activities that are out there. I know it's been a long time coming, but it's great to see all the activity that you've got up there, and more plans, sounds like. Dave, I had a question for you. I can't find it again in our packet, but I thought I remember reading that in order to use your facility, you have to be a member of the AMA club. Is that correct?
The AMA is the American Aeronautical
Modelers Association.
Yeah, Aeronautical Models Association. It's the insurance that we have to fly at these different places. You got to become a member of that to become a member of the club. And our dues are only $40 a year, which is very, very cheap for an RC club. But it just helps, the AMA will pay for the insurance if there's a mishap.
So there's no requirements or credentials to be a part of the AMA other than paying them money?
Yes. They give you an AMA card with a number on that. They give you a publication, stuff like that. They keep us involved with different things that go along.
Okay, I didn't know if there was some test that you had to pass to prove that you were a qualified pilot in order to be a member of that club.
No, no, no. We'll help you out if you're a beginner, of course. We check out people's planes when they show up as potential members and stuff like that. There's no regulation against that, no policies.
When you mentioned about getting involved in the schools, what first came to my mind was the robotics program, how the kids like to build robots and do whatever they do with them. Is that the type of thing where you had envisioned maybe getting involved with building gliders or whatever it takes?
Building the gliders, building something with their hands, balsa wood, stuff like that, something simple that they can fly. The only difference is we don't use motors, we don't have propellers, none of that. It's all gliders. That's what's unique about our field.
All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions? Director Huffer?
Not a question, but I want to thank you and all your volunteers and your organization for the work that you've done on the, I guess you would call it an airport or air area up there.
The glider field.
Okay. Anyway, thanks for making this such a nice facility, and looks like it's increasing in popularity. I know early on when we first started working with your group, you gave us a demonstration of the different ways of launching the planes. You talked about hand launch, and I guess there are different devices that you can use to move them further. But it's really encouraging to see organizations like yours take care of the facilities, grow your organization, and improve what we have here at the Park District. So thank you very much.
Oh, you're quite welcome. We're so blessed that we'll be working with CRPD. It's just it's amazing.
All right. Good presentation, and we'll be addressing another issue associated with your organization further in the agenda. So that concludes our special presentations. We're moving on to item 4, items from the public. Mark, is there anybody online? Okay. On to item 5, approval of the agenda. I'd entertain a motion. Director
Move
Huffer.
approval.
And thank you, Director Holt. No changes, recommendations. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none. That motion will pass. We're moving on to our consent calendar, 6A and B. Entertain a motion at this time. Director Holt. Thank you. Is there a second? Thank you, Director Cusworth. Any other changes or comments? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, that motion's passed. Item 7, deferred matters. We have no deferred matters this evening. Items for discussion. CRPD update regarding COVID-19. Mr. General Manager Gradle.
Yes, thank you, Chair Lang and members of the board. Mark is going to help me out just a bit by going on the VC Recovers website, and kind of as I talk through, we have pulled this up before. I'm doing this in part because I hope at some point the public that might be watching it understands where CRPD is coming from when we're, working to constantly, reopen and allow for more things as the public health orders allow. So philosophically, or the approach we've been taking is, if the public health orders allow, we will do something. So we are trying to reopen and try to do things that seem like normal as quickly as the health orders allow. So that is kind of our approach to things. So we get asked all the time for people to use our picnic areas, our fields, our facilities. And the answer sometimes is not what people want to hear, because we do still have public health limitations. But what we do, and if you click on the business registration, if somebody does say, hey, I have this activity I want to do now that we're in red, there are a few more things that can be done. And so as Mark scrolls down, you'll see there is quite the extensive rubric of allowable activities and public health guidance based on what it is that you're trying to do. And my eyes can't read that from here, but suffice it to say, there's like, yeah, campgrounds, RV parks, and outdoor, and you just keep going down and down. There's all sorts of different things, and day camps and family entertainment and all sorts of gyms and fitness. So we actually have to live within the county health order world in a whole variety of different areas. So the number of rules that we are trying to live within and follow is pretty tremendous. So again, compliment you sports, compliments the staff for constantly staying up with that. So one of the things we will do when we do get a request that kind of fits within what we think pretty clearly we can allow, we then have to refer them to the county's website, because they can do an online, they call it attestation, that just says they understand what all the rules are, that they're going to adhere to those rules, and they register in. When we get that registration back from the county, then we give them the permit, and then people can use our picnic areas and our sports fields and all those kind of things for activities that meet the county guidance. So one thing has changed since our last meeting, and I'm going now, Mark's going to the frequently asked questions site. So it's as simple as the definition of gathering. So as he scrolls down on the frequently asked questions page, are gatherings permitted? So that was just updated on October 12th. So this is like, get ready guys, gatherings used to not be permitted. You can now gather with 3 households or more. So things are loosening up. So if somebody asks for a picnic area they don't have to tell us why or what they're doing, whether it's a birthday or a quinceañera or a church picnic or something. If there's 3 households or fewer, we can give you a permit now for that purpose. Now there are other reasons we can give you permits, but you still have to fit within those things like funerals and weddings and that kind of stuff. So I kind of make light of it a little, but even just gathering for 3 or more households, you can see how many different rules and regulations do apply. So I am kind of going through this a little bit because the degree of frustration the public has with us because of what the messenger telling them what the rules are. There's, the staff are dealing with a lot as we're going through this. So I just kind of want to show you that there are these rules and regs that we do follow. One thing we were trying to do as we went from purple to red, indoor museums were allowed to open at 25%. And if you remember, we were trying to work with Bruce to open Reina Terra's retail in the purple. And when we thought indoor museums, we thought, yeah, that we can do this, 25%. We had a plan. We approached the county and city, and again, that was no, because there is a category called family entertainment center, and they pretty much squarely put households in that, and those are only allowed outdoors, nothing inside yet. So because that Reina Terra is inside, they just said, no, it's not happening, guys. Appreciate the creativity. So that's kind of the update, and the really good news is there are no more additional COVID cases among staff. So we, other than that very beginning, and it seems like now at the very beginning of this, we have not had anything in quite a while.
Very good.
That is it.
Thank you, Jim. Yes, Director Hupper.
Having a somewhat vested interest in youth sports, I don't claim to be an expert, but I've tried to read through as much of this stuff as I can. And as best I can tell, regardless of what level our county gets through, from purple to red to orange, what is it, yellow or green or whatever the last, no matter what level we're in, nothing changes for youth sports. So even when we're at the very best level, they can do nothing more than skills and drills.
Yeah, so they top out right now. The regulatory scheme goes like purple, red, orange, yellow, and there isn't really a green. They don't actually have green. So I anticipate green is vaccine, or something, vaccine widely distributed or something. So the way I would agree, and we don't know for 100% sure, but I think that huffing and puffing and being right next to somebody else, basketball, soccer, can be that way. It does not appear that adult or youth sports as a recreational activity is likely to come back the way we know it in the short term. So I am, just going off news or guesstimates as anyone else, is the vaccine available in the spring? Are we actually administering it in the spring and summer? So maybe ASO does stuff by the fall. I'd hope sooner, but I don't know. Don't know.
And there's been nothing said at all about adult recreational sports.
No.
So, all right.
Sorry, Mr. Hopper. Yes, Director Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. General Manager Friedel, one of your comments caught my attention when he talks about gatherings and the definition changing. And now people are calling to use facilities. Are these the latest definitions, guidelines, mandates, actual law that has to be enforced? Do they tell you every time these change that, oh, by the way, there's a new law, or is it just an order? How is that information conveyed as to how you?
Yeah, no,
know how
that's
to
a great
follow it?
question. We don't, no one knocks, no one like gives us the heads up it's going to change or anything. So sometimes we find out just because somebody tells us, hey, the website updated today or something. So basically we're doing what anyone from the public could do, is just regularly, like daily, look at the County of Ventura's website and the State Department of Health website. So when the gathering one changed, it takes you to a link that kind of walks you through everything that's allowed under gathering. So the frequently asked questions, there is a portion of that that says these frequently asked questions are to be interpreted as basically laws, orders of the public health officials. So there is no normal, what we think of as legislative process to promulgate laws. The public health official, under the public health emergency rubric that was established long before COVID, that's been in place a long time. But once you say public health emergency, there are incredible powers invested with the public health official to just make rules. And the way they do it is, and I don't think it's a bad way in terms of getting the word out, is because most people don't want to read a bunch of legalese and paragraphs. They're saying these frequently asked questions are the law. The question and answer, but it does often link to like a public health guidance document. And so even with the gathering one, there's a California Public Health Department document that says gatherings, are limited to 3 different households maximum. And then it goes on to explain in a lot of detail what that really means.
Mhm.
So, it says truly just the same household, you cannot have, say, 3 different households plus the host, or it has to be just 3 different households. And even then you still have all the social distancing protocols and all that in place according to that the website.
Mhm. And as this is a follow-up to that, when you do get these inquiries or requests, whatever happens to be, to use a facility, is there a requirement that Park District staff question or inform about the 3 household limit? And then do we have to send out staff to enforce that and ask for IDs and make sure that they are in the same household? How does that end up in reality taking place?
Okay, so in reality, we take people at their word when they tell us exactly what they're doing. We give them a permit with the thing they say in either, because there's a permit application. So we give them a permit in accordance with what they tell us they're going to do. And we do have waivers and do we have I don't know that we necessarily go all the way to like a penalty of perjury thing, but there's you're signing your name to this is what I'm planning to do and this is what and we take you at your word for it. And when it comes to in a reservable picnic area, we do know, there's a process for that going from our system here to the guys in the field that will then observe what's happening. And if it were wildly out of sync with what the permit says and what's happening, we would, inquire with somebody there about what is going on here. When it comes to just the way our parks and facilities are being used, we don't have park police. So when there are complaints about activities, the actual Ventura County Sheriff will get the call. Or we get calls, the city gets quite a few calls. We actually have quite a few complaints sent to us through the city because the city is the receiver of the complaints.
It sounds to me like basically what you as the general manager and the administrator are trying to do is that the park district is doing what they can or should do. But as far as the general public, there's just no way we could possibly ever.
Yeah, and we
get a
actually
hold
will
of
tell people that are saying, why aren't you out there? I saw a group of people playing soccer. You know, I saw it. Like, I called and you guys didn't rush right out to break up the game or whatever is happening that's not consistent with a guideline. And, you know, we actually hired a staff person, part-time staff person. We gave him some hours back to go educate and inform the different groups about what skills and conditioning is versus games, and you could do one but not the other. So what we are doing is trying our best to just educate, inform. Enforce is not our thing. So
Yeah, well, like I said, you just don't even have the staff to do that.
Right.
So, and
Right.
besides trying to keep up with it every day as it changes. So,
Right.
all right. Well, thank you for the clarification.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? On the 3 households, is there a number limit to the 3 households? I mean, if 3 households had 10 members living in their household, does that mean that can maybe a 30-person activity?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a like 4 or 5 page thing, and I can't remember if it said what is the limit per household, but I think the way I read it was household, and it didn't define any limit on the number within a household. So
Okay. Well, thank you, Mr. Friedel.
Mark's got it up. So, you know, it's a quick link and a quick read, but
Okay. We're going on to item, pardon?
Sure.
Oh, Director Holt.
Are you kidding me? Oh, no, that's just like was up on the county's website. Yeah, so it's guidance for private gatherings, and again, this is just links on BC Recovers. I think we're looking at it daily. I think the general public is looking at this stuff pretty regularly now. Yeah. Yeah, no, and I can print this off and we can get you a copy. Yeah. Well, that's actually, I've learned to stop printing stuff.
Yes.
There's not.
Okay. Item 9A, amendment number 2 to memorandum of understanding with Thousand Oaks Soaring Society for use of Westlake Upper Terrace area and Sopwith Trails Community Park.
Thank you,
Staff?
Chair. Yep. Andrew Mooney here, sitting in for Tom Hare. Thank you, Chair Lang and members of the board. The item tonight is a recommendation to enter into an amendment, number 2, with Thousand Oaks Soaring Society for the use of the upper terrace. As you saw tonight from all 3 of our user groups at Sapwave, very successful park site and user and community site to garner the use of pretty unique opportunities with the district. So it's a great user group. They've worked very well with staff over the time. They actually were there prior to the park even opening. They started in January of 2017, and then the park later opened in September, officially September of 2018. So they're going to continue to work with staff to maintain and develop areas. I know in their presentation they mentioned possible opportunities for shade. So it's those adds and developments that will continue to foster their group and use of the park site. So basically looking to continue this great relationship for an additional 3 years. So with that, I am available for questions.
Thank you, Andrew. Are there any questions on this topic of the amendment number 2 for the Thousand Oaks Soaring Society and the Park District? If not, I'd entertain a motion. Director Huffer.
I'd like to move approval of staff recommendation for the general manager to enter into an agreement, amendment number 2, to the MOU with COS.
Thank you. And I thought, yes, Director Cussworth has a second. Any other additional comments or questions? If not, All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none, that motion will pass. Pardon? Oh, okay, you got, well, congratulations. We're now moving on to item 9B, the public utility easement, the deed to Camarosa Water District for an emergency standby generator at McCray Ranch West. Staff, please. Is that Andrew?
Yes, sir.
All right, do it.
Thank you, Chair Lang. So we're looking for a recommendation to authorize the general manager to grant a public utility easement with Camarosa Water District. There's an existing site with a water pump. This easement on district land will provide space to accommodate an emergency generator for that existing water pump within their infrastructure. It's a relatively small space, it's about 1,575 square feet. Basic development. It's a concrete pad for the generator as well as the fuel cell, and a perimeter screen wall with built into a retaining wall. It is on a sloped area. The development will be very much unnoticeable. The wall looks to be beige in color to blend into the hillside. So relatively pretty simple action. Staff work closely with the district to make sure that limited the amount, but then also worked with the possible future of the site for us and our use. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you, Andrew. Any questions? Yes.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Marie, just to help me, where I was looking at the diagram, the aerial photo, what is the primary access to this site? Is it from the YMCA area, or is it from down on Moore Park Road down below?
Correct. So it would be accessed from Moore Park Road. I believe that there's an auxiliary street that connects you to actually the Edison property where the nursery is.
Yes.
On the diagram, and so that's the general direction for Camarosa to access the sites to other properties, not our property.
Okay. So this particular area is on the, what would that be, the north side of the slope then, kind of down in the flatter area?
Correct. So it's on the north side of the slope, but southwest corner of McCray Ranch property.
Gotcha. All right. Just want to make sure. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome, Director Nichols. Any other questions associated with this easement? If not, I'd entertain a motion. Thank you.
So Water District for an emergency standby generator at McCray Ranch West.
We have a second. Thank you, Director Holt. Any comments or questions associated with that motion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Hearing none. That motion will pass. We're going on to item C, Canal Recreation and Park District 30-year capital assessment maintenance plan. Mr. Moody?
Yeah. Thank you again.
Oh, you jumped right in after Mr. Ayers.
Thank you again, Chair Lang. The recommendation tonight is a receive and file. So really just trying to provide the overview and the idea of this 30-year maintenance asset plan. So really this is a general review of district maintenance needs from our parks to our buildings. So basically all of our facilities. We didn't include it in the packet because as I'll walk you through, it's a very large document. So we have 50 plus facilities, 14 buildings that are on this document. And there's itemized line by line what maintenance needs to be done on these. And it's really a guide for our capital improvement plan. So this is kind of the first step of kind of reviewing our properties and use it as a support tool and budgeting for these projects. And so we'll be bringing the CIP 2-year budget will be reviewed later this year, and the CIP will be presented in spring of 2021. So this is kind of the first look at, hey, what's happening, and I'll kind of walk you through. Sorry, I'll kind of walk you through, for examples. So if you look at, I'll try to zoom this in better. My eyes don't show me either. So if we walk through this plan, I'll take you to one item within it at a site. So I apologize. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff on here. It's about 750 lines of documentation. So I'll get to Borchard Community Center. So Borchard Community Center, for instance, we have roofing. So the roof there was original installed year. I'll kind of just walk you through. Original install year was 2008. That original cost was $100,000. And we do have some quantity and unit cost of that, but basically estimated useful life typically for a roof is 25 years. For the roof that we installed is 40-year roof. And so this will be good until 2033. When you look at, you go through year 1, year 2, all the way back to 2033, here we are. And we actually put in 25% contingency or really increase because of just costs 30 years later. So in time, then it will be $125,000 to replace that roof. And then, for instance, we have one of our playgrounds recently that was installed, Rancho Cuneo. So apologize, I'm going to go back all the way down. The Rancho Cuneo playfield, we get down to playground equipment. And that was installed at the beginning of 2020, about $215,000. Estimated useful life of a playground is about 15 years. So then it will be replaced in 2035. So as we work down to the maintenance year, 2035, and then the cost will be 280. My eyes are failing me. 286,750, I believe. So you can kind of see exactly how we're planning it. So every item of every park site and every building is itemized to be able to help and support the longevity of the maintenance and work it into long-term planning. So it's this really, really good tool that we update every 2 years and kind of assess, and it helps lead kind of the CIP process. So without boring you guys even more, I'm available for some questions.
Thank you, Andrew. Yes, Director Hupper.
I mean, this is all assumptions and projections, and obviously, maybe obviously, but the further you get out in time, the more questions there are about the assumptions that are being made. Am I understanding that you're basically you're taking the cost of something that's $100,000 and you're just bumping that up by 25%?
Correct.
Regardless of whether it's next year or 25 years down the line.
And we're doing it in today's dollars as well. So there's only so much that we can plan and assess for with it. But then it does give us in the short term and the long term a good guide for a maintenance plan of the district for that 30 years of the district.
Right. But I mean, you could get as tricky as you want with a spreadsheet. I mean, you could assume, say, 10% annual increase in cost, and each year it's going to increase another 10%. I mean, you could do all kinds of games with this, but I understand this is a planning tool. The other thing is that this is all just maintenance of existing facilities. This doesn't include any replacement items. I mean, you have Conejo Creek Community Center here and showing various maintenance costs, but you know we're looking at a significant, basically replacement or close to replacement. of the entire facility. So that's entirely separate from this 30-year maintenance plan.
Correct. Yeah, and so this is kind of the first step into the CIP process, because we'll use this to review. Tom and myself work with maintenance staff to see for from my management, I do capital improvements and large maintenance projects. However, I might not be involved in a water heater replacement or signage replacement. That's maintenance and grounds that are handling that. So we continue to communicate with staff in the field and assess, like Canal community. Yeah, we're not going to go and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on certain things if we know there's a possibility in the near future or even in 5 to 10 year future that we would be replacing an asset like that. So and this is again a tool to help kind of bridge the gap to the long-term CIP planning process of the district.
All right.
So.
And is it just purely coincidental that, I just, being a bottom line type person, I went to the bottom line, just scrolled through all 30 years, and it's just coincidental that year one is by far the largest single year of maintenance costs?
So that, if you look, there's some, so hopefully the improvements or replacements that we do throughout the park system, just like the playgrounds, hopefully they last longer. But we're being conservative in our estimates, just kind of like you were saying with the cost. We're trying to give a conservative picture on it. And so with that, a playground might last 20 years, or it might last 15 years, or it might last 10 years. But a good average is that 15. On the first year, you'll see things that were due to be replaced that might be 5, 10 years ago. But they're still in good shape and they're still working. They don't need to be replaced. And so that's why that number is the largest of all, but then we want to account for it. So then it's, again, through the budgeting process of our capital improvement plan. So it's accounted for, even if it's in currently good shape, but we want to make sure that we have the monetary assets to replace that park asset.
Okay. And this is updated each year?
It's 2 year, every 2 years.
All right. Thank you, Andrew.
Yes, thank you, Director Cusworth.
So I again had some of the same things as Director Huffer. I assumed when you mentioned Borchard that we're hoping that facility won't be here in 30 years. But I was highly impressed when I scrolled through this afternoon. In fact, I said to my husband, I'm pretty amazed by this, but I figured that since Mr. Hare probably put this together, this is pretty typical of the things he does. Is this typical for most, is this unusual for people to be this prepared, like in a rec and park or a large governmental organization? Does anyone know? Or is this?
You see a range in it depending, but yes, it is a tip the hat to Tom and staff before me that worked on this and put this together. It's a very good document to help in the next step.
So did you put this together?
I updated it. So
Okay.
Tom established it years ago, and then he's retooled it, and then I just updated it based on the past 2 years of what work has been accomplished.
So does this have benches on it?
Good question. I can show you kind of the general.
I was just so impressed with all of the detail. I said to my husband, I bet they know. Well, they have picnic shelters.
Well, and typically we'll kind of lump it into bigger ticket
Right.
items. So that would kind of fall under the picnic shelter number.
I just think it's very nice that you have this accounted for, so we're not just going around and having people call us saying, we have a lot of deterioration at this park. I've been to many parks, not here, of course, to where things look like they're falling apart. And then maybe it takes complaints before somebody gets around to looking at their budget to replace it. So I thought it was very nice that this is being taken into consideration, that it's being looked at yearly. And then, and I did notice also, I thought, well, this is an expensive year, but I assumed that not all of those costs would be going on to this year, as you said, and they would be postponed to another year. But at least somebody is looking at it. The only reason I mentioned benches is I said to my husband, because I was quite taken with this whole thing. Of course, I didn't read it all. And I don't even know if my glasses looking at that on my screen could see it all completely. But I said, I bet they know every bench in this park district, and they are accounting for every bench and picnic table in this park district, and it's somewhere going to be on a list on where that bench or picnic table has to be looked at to see if it's up to grade. So, so I salute you. So this is one, which is going to be the capital improvements. And then you're saying for all the more minor improvements, there's a whole nother list that goes with that.
No, so that this is the maintenance plan, major and minor throughout the whole existing park system, as Chuck Huffer mentioned, with the capital improvement plan, any new assessment, or sorry, new product of the district, new property development, that would be on the capital improvement plan. So that would be something that's assessed on there, similar to replacing the center or building, Canal Creek Southwest, or a few years back when we were planning to build Sapwood.
So obviously, I'm just clarifying, when a building is completely replaced, it goes on with a whole new maintenance plan, obviously.
Correct. Yep. Yeah. So we built, just like the playground example. Hey, we built a playground in 2020. It gets updated on the list as 2020, and then you would check off the list of all the items of that building.
Okay, thank you. I'm very impressed and very glad to know that you have something like this in place. So good work.
Now, Director Holt might correct me, but thinking back, it was Director Mark Jacobson that was really emphasizing the forecast of maintenance and so forth. And it was a board project, naturally, and making sure that we had such a document. But I kind of recall it was the Director Mark Jacobson that was really saying we need a document like this in all of our items and maintenance of our facilities. So, okay, any other comments or questions? Another one, Director Nichols.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you again, Mr. Mooney, for clarifying some of these. I did have just a basic question for my benefit. How is a capital asset defined?
So a capital asset is minor to major. Like if you look down the list, it's different for a building as it is with a park. So it's kind of the minor and the major elements of a park site, whether it has a building or not. So starts with the park. We have 50, I believe it's 52 green on the spreadsheet. That's a park facility, and then we have 14 buildings that are noted in orange. And so each one of those has an itemized asset. And so it's, a range of what it is, right? So that needs to be replaced, whether it's a pavement on your parking lot, like we just did this past year, or changing out a playground, or a new roof, or even down to a water heater and things like that, or bathroom refurbishment, things like that.
So it's not necessarily a dollar amount that it's like, I typically think of a capital improvement program if you have, let's just say $50,000. If something costs more than $50,000, it's a capital expense. If it's less than 50, then it's not. So there's not really a dollar value as what's a capital asset. You're just looking at facilities as your capital asset.
Correct. Yeah, and we put a dollar amount based on best estimate or the known price of the reinstallation or original installation of that asset.
Okay.
In the plan.
Okay.
And then that gets spread out for the, it's in today's dollars that we calculate it. However, then we add the 25% increase to balance the cost in future years.
Gotcha. Okay. And then as I looked at the different park items, you list 8 there. You were in the report, and also building has 16 items. I would presume that with the various facilities and various parks and various centers, they're not all exactly the same. Some have other features that don't. Are these the ones that are common to all, and then you might have others that have more features in addition to this?
So we try to be systematic with it, where we have the general sections within each site, and then we accommodate, depending on the site, the cost might get accommodated within a subsection. So it doesn't change per park site, but there might be some that are not included because they aren't on that park site. Say a site doesn't have a parking lot, site doesn't have a restroom, things of that nature.
Okay.
So
Yeah, I mean, I just,
like more of a general overview of the park system and looking at those developed assets of the park.
okay. So for example, Canal Creek North, you've got a wonderful water feature there. I don't see water features listed here, but I presume that you're accounting for that in some manner for that site.
Correct. And so there's certain detailed sites like that are outliers, obviously, because we don't have water features throughout the park system. But correct. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Nichols. As noted, this is just for receive and file. And thank you, Andrew, for all the work associated with updating this. And we appreciate the importance of this document and how much it impacts our planning and budgeting and so forth. Okay, we're going on to item 9D. Call for vote for members to serve on California Association for Park and Recreation Indemnity Capri Board of Directors. Mr. General Manager.
Thank you, Chair Lang, members of the board. Capri is the joint powers authority where Canal Rec and Park District gets its workers' comp and liability and property insurance. I happen to be on this board, and you have several candidates to consider and determine who you would like to select.
All right.
And normally I don't say what I think, but since I'm on this board, if you were to ask, I could tell you.
I was anticipating that. Someone else wasn't. I was Shirley was. And Director Nichols raised his hand. Yes, sir.
General Manager Friedel, since you are on this board, I would like to know if you have any opinions or recommendations to the slate before us.
Yeah, I think there's really great board members and general managers throughout all of our, fellow rec and park districts throughout the state, and the other folks are nice folks. But the two incumbents, I will just tell you, Dean Wetter is the current chair of Capri. He's also the CSDA's general manager of the year this year. He's just a really great guy from down at Valleywide. And then Matt Fuzzi is at Livermore, and they're a really nice, sizable park district, and he came from state government. He was a state parks guy for many years, so he brings a wealth of interesting and good good background information to the board. So the two incumbents, I believe, have served the Capri board well.
Thank you. And I just would have to say that with the interactions I've had, whether it be at conferences or at the statewide conference, all these people are great people.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure we would do fine with any of it. I don't necessarily mean these particular five, but just, the folks that I've met across the board are just generally very, committed folks to their profession, whether it be elected or general managers. And that's why I appreciate your input, because I know we could probably do fine with any of them, but obviously with the incumbent that experience, it certainly offers some benefit to that. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And with that,
Unless there's further discussion, I would like to suggest that we proceed with our vote to be for Matthew Fuzzi and Dean Wetter.
thank you. Is there a second? Director Huffer. We have a motion and a second for the two incumbents, Matthew Fuzzi and Dean Wetter. Any other comments or recommendations? If not, all in favor of that recommendation of those two individuals, say aye. Aye. Opposed, abstentions, hearing none, that motion will pass. And thank you, Mr. Friedel, for your sage input there. On to item 10, reports and announcements, and A and B, investment report for July 2020 and budget performance report for September 2020. Anybody want to poll and discuss those? If not, we're moving on to department reports. Item 11A, Parks Division, Andrew Mooney.
Thank you, Chair Lang. So update, we've had a couple community meetings as of late. Dog Park, we held meetings on Tuesday, October 6th, and Saturday, October 10th. We reached out to folks on site with the notice, as well as previous email groups that we generated and on the website. Basically, it was an information meeting, but also received feedback, and we're looking to implement some of the comments and feedback as feasible to the project. So we're looking to implement the parking lot, restroom, and shade structure project at the dog park. So there was a couple comments about location of shade and things like that. So I was out on site this afternoon with staff taking a look at that to kind of update our plans and direction on the project, as well as we held for Conejo community park assessment for the park and the building. We're working through schematic design with our consultant, and we presented and been working with staff through summer and into the early fall, as well as held a stakeholder meeting Wednesday the 7th, received positive feedback from our stakeholders. We look to hold public meetings November 1st and November 4th. That's a Sunday and a Wednesday, I believe. Those will be Zoom only, just because of the possibility of numbers and following the local health orders. So then after schematics will be reviewed by staff, stakeholders, and the public. Staff looks to present to the board at the November 19th, as well as the next design phase of work be brought to amend the current contract with our consultant team for that project. So.
Okay, does that conclude your report?
Yes, sir.
Are there any questions of Mr. Mooney? Yes, Director Nichols.
Not a question, but just a comment. I know along with Chair Lang, we attended the Saturday session of the dog park presentation. I just want to thank Mr. Mooney, and also Tom Hare was there for a very thorough presentation, but I think also just the demeanor. And I think Mr. Mooney kind of led the presentation, but it was very receptive. I mean, it wasn't, this is the way it's going to be and, you know, take it or leave it. It was just very receptive. We did have some good feedback, some good comments, some suggestions, recommendations, requests. They were just taking notes, and I just appreciated the good representation. We had a lively crowd there, but fortunately the owners were able to keep the crowd under control. I had to say that because I've been hearing all these dad jokes lately from our general manager, so I had to throw that in there. But it was a good group. I said maybe there was a dozen or so there, but they were, like I said, it was a group that all knew each other. I guess it was the regular Saturday morning crowd, and they had some really good input. So again, thank you for your participation, for presentation, and also the reception of the comments. I think it'll end up with some good results from that. So thank you.
And Director Nichols, I actually did a head count of the group standing there for at one time, and there were 12 individuals and 16 dogs. And then one woman had 4 dogs. Anyway, yes, Andrew, what is the next step as far as the dog park design and so forth?
So I will be finalizing the plans, and actually this past week I received some additional plans from vendors regarding structural things for calculations as well as actual plans. So I'll be taking that to the city to continue the process to get permits ready, and then we'll be looking to be bidding this winter. So.
Okay. All right. Any questions of our parks and planning individual, Mr. Mooney? If not, we're going on to our recreation division report. Rochelle.
Thank you, Chair Lang, members of the board. So couple of things. I don't know if you guys know, but today was the Great Shakeout at 10:13. And so I just wanted to do a shout out to Matt. He did a really great job with everyone. He's communicating with everyone out in the field for parks and also recreation, to make sure that we are prepared if or when we have an earthquake or a major catastrophe. So that went really well, and that's a national event. So we participated in that. As Jim said, we are opening up some picnic rentals, so that's a good thing. Also, another thing that is allowed now is art classes. So
Is what?
Art classes.
Oh.
I'll probably just do that. And so the art classes, we are hoping to be having some more start coming into some of the facilities and stuff, and maybe even at the Global Community Center, might be able to get some art classes in there and get some
Great.
folks back in, of course, following all the rules and the regulations and all that good stuff. So, and then our gallery is allowed to be open. So the Arts Council and Hillcrest Center for the Arts have been working, and they're going to have a small gallery showing, and they're working on all that protocol and everything. So just like with the general public having to do attestations, everything that we open that's a new business, we do attestations for also. So that's all going on. Just so you guys know, we do have a holiday committee, and they have, because of the times, many of our district-wide events and stuff cannot happen. So we in Recreation put together a holiday committee, and my managers have met with the team, and they've come up with some great ideas. So we'll be presenting those or letting you know about them as they happen. We'll have probably an event in November, and then a couple different things that happen in December. So hopefully there will be fun and different things for the community. So, and I think you might be excited about one of them. So, and go out and see, don't forget, on October 24th, go see, if you park, you could probably walk in, but if you didn't get a ticket, I'll take pictures and stuff of the Halloween drive-through. So we've got 38 organizations or different people that are participating, handing out candy, of course, following all the rules and the guidelines and the 6 feet of distance. And it'll be a fun little drive-through that people can see. So since the kids can't trick or treat. And I think lastly, Susan and I had our Caneo Coalition for Youth and Families meeting, and so she may want to share more about that. But it is a great group of people, and it's really neat. The last couple of meetings, we've been inviting some guests, and it's neat to see everybody working together and how they're dealing with the times and how we're trying to support each other and stuff. So the meetings have been had some extra energy lately, it seems like. So with that, I'm available for any questions.
Thank you, Rochelle. Any questions in the recreation? Yes, Director Huffer.
I was just reading your little notes here, and I'm just trying to picture how people are going to play bingo from their cars. Are they going to honk their horns if they've got a bingo or something? So,
I think GAC has it figured out. They've got the Broughton Bingo coming up. That's this Friday. It's tomorrow, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll be there tomorrow. I think they've got between the horn honking, and I think they made like little streamers or something, so that because they thought they might not be able to tell which cars are honking if multiples do. So I think they have a streamer or something they're supposed to wave out their window. They're all going to get. So yeah, so I'm interested to see how they have that set up. And then when they do their Halloween event, that's going to be like outdoor dining. And then the cakewalk will be, of course, distanced and everything too. So if those two events go really well, we might be seeing some more outdoor dining, drive-up type things for our seniors.
So even though it's going to be Oktoberfest, it's going to be brats, but no beer.
No
driving
beer.
up and back, so.
You're in your car, no
Yeah.
beer. We're going to play bingo instead.
Okay, thank you. Yes, Director Holt.
I'm not sure whether I should wait until my report, but I really want to
Go for it.
tag on to what Rochelle was talking about. And again, that's the meeting for the Coalition for Youth and Families. And I have to say that without Michelle and also our tech people and people that work with Michelle, you know, it's some of you may not even realize, but it's a representative from Rec and Park, a representative from the school district, and also a representative from the city of Thousand Oaks. And so all three were elected officials. But it really falls on Rochelle and her team to help put this together. Obviously, I work with her also. But anyway, and she does a wonderful job. Her whole group, and of course, we've been doing Zoom. So Rochelle and I are together, but everybody else is Zoom. So just to you know, refer you, reference this, of course, we have not only the elected officials from the city and the school district, but we have staff people who come to, they're always welcome to come to the meetings. Only the elected official from city, school district, and Rec and Park vote on issues. But we've had some wonderful conversations. We have topics that we've brought up, and the interaction, because with the Zoom, the people from the Boys and Girls Club talk to the school district people directly. I mean, it's a real crossways communication, and I think it's very beneficial. And we're obviously very happy to facilitate this. But I can't say enough about Rochelle and her group that really put this all together for us. And there's been such a good exchange of information amongst the various groups. And that includes, for instance, the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club. It's not just the government agencies, but it's been wonderful. So I think we're looking to have another one next month, because the exchange of information, the information keeps changing and the needs keep changing. So I think it's wonderful that Rec and Park is really facilitating this. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Director Hope. Director Nichols.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Ms. Callis, with the, as we've known, constantly changing challenges of trying to anticipate what's going to be open next or not, or going back and forth, I know that's always a week-to-week process for you folks. And again, thank you for pivoting, as we talked about last time, to make this happen. But as the general manager correctly identified, that there is no green color category. We can only get to yellow, and there are still restrictions. And as Mr. Hupper, Director Hupper was saying, that there are no sports activities in the foreseeable future. So with that horizon of never being able to get to green because there is no green, and never being able to get to normal that we used to know what that was, how does that portray for the recreation, whether it be programming or use of facilities, when, as we see it right now, that will never happen?
Well, I'd like to believe it will happen someday. We just don't have when it is yet. And my hope would be that even though they have the different colored tiers right now, they do keep adding things into the tiers. So I think the tiers are fairly open or vague right now. But when they get to them, we see different things pop up. So like in the tier that we're in currently, didn't talk about picnic areas and stuff, but as they make decisions of loosening things up, they'll put them on the questions, the FAQs. So I'm hopeful that as we see, Major League Sports playing and schools going back on, and we see that the kids are able to practice and not practice, but do their training and stuff, that and as a vaccine maybe comes out, that type of thing, that the county will allow different things to happen, and we'll be prepared and ready to do that. How that affects us right now is we have a sports department that has no sports, so they're trying to be creative on the things that we can do and rejiggering what folks are doing, and we have people not working, so it's tough. It's really tough, but the centers have a little more because they've been able to zig and do some different things. So just kind of wait and see what we're allowed to do and try to follow the rules the best of our ability.
Thank you for that report and for those efforts. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Nichols. Any other comments or questions? And kudos to you and your whole organization for keeping our recreation division moving ahead in these challenging times. Melissa Smith, Management Services Division report.
Thank you, Chair and Directors. Just very briefly, we finished the final questions for our fiscal year 1920 audit. Praise and baked goods should be sent to Loretta. And yeah, that's all I have. So with that, I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Any questions of Melissa? If not, we're moving on to our General Manager's report, Mr. Friedel. He's got some big feet too.
No, it's a great time. It's nice and positive to get away. Of course, I was no, it's great that the staff but you know, tear through some things really quick, heads up, and then you have the session items, which they shouldn't be very long. On October 5th, there was a meeting hosted by Asta, our fire chief here in all issues, fire's role, and community audience. So that was a really good agency presentation, and they went up to establish or work with a fire safety voting has begun, and there are a lot of information, lots of propositions out there, and you know, the district doesn't typically take a position on propositions, but I do want to just like let you know Proposition 15 again, split roll. We have to create some emotional reaction. So the emotional reaction even beyond, you know, because of the importance of Prop 13, Prop 15 does do the split roll where residential is under the current Prop 13 property tax protection, but it would take business property that is worth more than $3 million out of the assessment or frequent sort of current state, which of course would be more property tax being on the business side. Just so the board is aware, Prop 15, if it were to pass, would generate an estimated about $4 million. That is not far from the number we actually were looking at for a revenue measure. Well, we were in both of this awesome, but that's the kind of money we're talking about for the Park District, and of course, other property tax collections, which also be a beneficiary, but just heads up on that. Borderline was 2 years ago. This on Saturday, November 7th. So we are working with the city and county right now. I try to figure out a socially distanced way to properly remember the 12 we're taking in the survivors. Michael Morissette, the dad of Christina Morissette, who was lost that evening, he is involved on the group, and as well as the victim assistance and given hour and stuff. So there's a bunch of people talking about how do we do something appropriate in the COVID world. So just you know, we're thinking about that. And I do want to give the board a heads up. We do like agenda management, have things planned for landing on certain nights based on when we get proposals back from consultants or have our homework done or where to go. And just because of, for no other reason than just things where they're falling decide, but I might call Chair Lang a week and say we don't really need the November 5th meeting. November 17th, however, we would not only have a meeting, but I think I would like us to start early if we can. So I'm going to have you check the calendars for November 17th. We'll send an email. But we want to start, is it the 19th? November 19th? Okay, sorry, November 19th. The second meeting in November 19th. And the reason is that we do have work that needs to happen that night, CRPD, but there is also a 6 p.m. Zoom meeting of the city general plan update advisory committee. General plan update advisory committee, and they are covering parks and open space that night. So I thought it would be actually kind of cool, since that's a meeting night for us anyways, if we just zoomed into their meeting for the discussions about parks and open space. And we will have a role in that. Staff would have a role in that meeting as well. So that's a heads up. Yeah, November 19th. And then again, we do have a virtual session, so I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions of the general manager? Well, that particular date that's important, you started your report, which is the 29th. Ninth of this month.
October 29th. I'm missing something.
Eileen's birthday.
Oh. Now I really. Oops. That's what. Yeah, I do that.
Now you know. Put it on your calendar.
You got me.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Friedel. Now we're moving on to director's reports and follow-up reports of meetings and conferences attended. Who would like to start this off? Birthday boy, Director Huffer.
Just the only meetings that would attended the Ventura County Special District Association had their meeting via Zoom, and unfortunately it was the same night as the Westlake Hills Costco fire presentation, so I tried to catch pieces of both and missed parts of both. But, the special district meeting was interesting update from the Harbor District folks and what they're doing up there. So that was really good. And other than that, it was my birthday the other day. So.
Yes, it was. Yeah. Okay. And I'm glad you mentioned the Harbor District because that's kind of a unique operation for Ventura County, and it's not too many counties have a Harbor District like that, and it's very impressive. So I'm looking forward to an opportunity for on-site tour, and hopefully that'll happen in the not too distant future. Okay, Director Cusworth, do you have anything to report?
So I was also at that meeting with the Harbor District, and I was fascinated with it, and even went and started reading Wikipedia all about it to see when it started and its whole history. And I want to just specifically thank Director Lang for mentioning that the last time they gave him a tugboat ride, and that they said they would give us another tugboat ride, because that sounds like a lot of fun to me to go on a tugboat ride around the harbor.
It's very impressive.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was highly impressive. I really enjoyed going to these special district meetings and kind of learning about all the different things that are going on in Ventura County. It's been a real highlight. Also, I spent a couple of hours at the Botanic Garden with Beverly. I was really impressed with that. I'm sure she'll be here again giving us a demonstration or a lecture sometimes, but it's really a lot of fun just to go around and have her show you the whole place. And it's a pretty amazing place, so I enjoyed that. The Stagecoach Inn is wanting to put on some virtual lectures, and we've been talking a little bit with Chumash, who's already started with that, and Costco, so hopefully that will work out for them. So they've been doing that. Here I wrote down something, but I can't read my, oh. Thank you, Rochelle, for this. In the guide, you all know I like history, so they had a whole thing on exploring some of our historical landmarks here is very nice. And thank you for putting that in with a link to the historical landmarks here that I guess Tom Hare put together quite some time ago. Because when I gave you all the driving tour, he sent me a link to the historical landmarks that he had put up on CRPD, which people didn't even really know about. So thank you for emphasizing that and for putting our 3 museums on there, plus the Crowley House. There's also one on McCray Ranch Docents in there, which is nice for our volunteers. And it was 2 years ago that I was still sitting in the audience with Director Nichols, the only ones in the audience, and didn't really know any of you. And I just wanted to say it's been a good 2 years. I mean, with the election coming up, and I appreciate this council. I think our what are we? Board of Directors, I guess we're a council. Anyway, I think that with Director Lang and Director Holt, we have experience here that they can always tell us about, as you were saying, how things have come about and have a really good base on what's gone on in the CRPD in the last 30 years. And I highly appreciate both of you having so much experience. I appreciate Director Nichols and how he just fine reads things. So I've never known anybody who can fine tune in the same way that you can. And I appreciate so much Director Huffer. He seems to just have good insights into all the things that are kind of going on. And I appreciate his comments so much. I appreciate our staff, just an incredible staff who is just on top of everything, making CRPD probably one of the nicest rec and parks in California. And I'm just here keeping it real. So thank you so much for all that you do. I've been glad for the last 2 years to be a part of this organization.
And thank you. Okay, Director Nichols.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. As I mentioned, I was able to attend the field visit for the dog park. It had a presentation there. And following that, I took a self-guided tour through the community garden. The gate was open. I just invited myself. There were a few folks in there. So it's nice just to walk through. I mean, the place is just overflowing, just the vegetables and roses and everything. It was quite a bounty in there. It's actually quite beautiful. And so well maintained, even just the pathways, everything about it. You can just tell there's a lot of love and care in that facility. And the place is just packed full. There's not a lot that's not being used in there, or a plot, I guess. So it's kind of fun just to walk through in the quiet of a Saturday morning. I thought it would be busier, but I guess, being at the end of summer, in the beginning of fall, maybe not quite as busy. Plus it was going to be a warm day. But it's fun just to, see that, you drive by it all the time. Can't remember the last time I actually walked through it. But again, as we were talking about the different facilities here with the different presentations, this was reflecting that. It's kind of like a quiet corner of the park district. We don't hear too much about it, but the people are committed to it. They're very actively involved. So it's fun to do that. And then also I attended the Special District Association Zoom meeting. So those were my participations for the last period. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Director Nichols. Director Holt, do you have anything more?
No.
Gotcha. Thank you, Youth and Family. Thank you.
I'm on no committees that meet.
Okay. And other than what's been mentioned about BCSDA and the dog park, I've had 2 MRCA board meetings since our last meeting. And that concludes my report. And we're moving on to item 12, requests for status reports and items for subsequent agendas. Anybody have one? Any? Director Nichols.
Just have a question for our general manager. As a follow-up to our meeting last week, where we were continuing the declaration of emergency. Also, and as I learned in that process, that we need to review that every 30 days. So will we now be having a review each time to kind of like a status update on that?
Yeah, so I think one of the early executive orders from the governor was to suspend the requirement that any agency has. So I guess recognizing this is like a traditional earthquake, fire, flood, it's more of a longer range thing. So the executive order said you don't have to look at the review you don't have to agencies don't have to re-up it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Excuse me. Item 13, items from the public. Mark, anybody? We're moving on to item 14, executive closed session, and as been noticed by the general manager, there is a need for the executive closed session. So anybody who is not part of that, we might as well just stay here, right?
Yes, we can speak.
Okay.